that's certainly worth investing in.
Hey.
Can I thank the honourable gentleman for his question? The criteria for the announcement last week is publicly available, and I suggest he has a look at it.
We now come to Liv Saville Roberts.
I'm sure the House will join me in remembering the Llandau air disaster in which 80 people lost their lives 75 years ago. Elaine's hair salon in Llanrug, Piti and Patian nursery in Llanwnder, care homes and GP surgeries across Dwyfo Meirionnydd. They tell me that national insurance hikes coming in just a few weeks will stop them hiring new staff. Her government says they're cutting welfare to get people into jobs. What jobs?
Plaid Cymru's manifesto for the general election had £5 billion of unfunded commitments. If her party was in power, we'd be facing the same legacy that we had from the party opposite, a £22 billion black hole, which has meant we have had to take difficult decisions. But in her constituency, they will want to have more investment in our NHS, more investment in our public services, more investment to support businesses. Her party voted against it all in the Welsh budget.
Liv Saville Roberts.
And if her government agreed with her counterparts in Cardiff, we would have the money from the Crown Estate as well. But back in 2015, the Secretary of State and I walked through the same voting lobby against what she then described as despicable Tory welfare cuts. And she dared to break the Labour whip to do so back then. Given this evidence of her strong convictions on the issue, how can she justify remaining in a cabinet intent on implementing Tory-style welfare cuts?
We have inherited a Tory welfare system that is the worst of all worlds. It's got the wrong incentives, it discourages people from working, the people who really need a safety net are still not getting the dignity and support that they need, and the taxpayer is funding an ever-spiralling bill. It's unsustainable, it's indefensible and it's unfair. Our principles for reform are clear: supporting those who need support, restoring trust and fairness in the system, fixing that broken assessment process and disincentives, and supporting people to start, stay and succeed in work. She should support that as well.
Stephen Gettins.
Two, please, Mr. Speaker.
Sarah Stay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently met with the Deputy First Minister to discuss a wide range of issues, including the Crown Estate. The UK and Welsh governments are focused on taking maximum advantage of the opportunities that floating offshore wind in the Celtic Sea presents for Wales, which could create over 5,000 jobs and £1.4 billion of investment to the UK economy in the coming years.
Stephen Gettins.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the 2011 SNP manifesto, the SNP committed to have 100% equivalent of Scotland's electricity being generated from renewables. The SNP met that target and then some, thanks to the devolution of the Crown Estate and working with industry that is now delivering jobs and clean green energy to Scotland, but also throughout the UK. Why shouldn't Wales have the same opportunity?
I'm afraid I'm not going to take any lectures on the Crown Estate from his party, whose mismanagement of the Scottish seabed has seen Scottish assets sold off on the cheap. We are focused on doing whatever it takes to secure more than 5,000 jobs in Wales and billions of pounds of investment that the Crown Estate can unlock for Wales.
Tony Antoniazzi.
Mr. Speaker, does the Secretary of State agree with me that the government's priority should be ensuring that the Crown Estate can unlock thousands of new well-paid jobs in Wales that will come with floating offshore wind, rather than being distracted by calls to devolve the organisation in the middle of this national mission, risking the investment, jobs and lower energy bills Wales desperately needs?
Mr. Speaker, she's absolutely right. I, like her, want to see people in Wales benefit from those 5,300 new jobs, particularly young people who then don't have to leave Wales, where they've grown up, to earn or learn. I want to see that £1.4 billion boost to the economy. We are not prepared to put all of that at risk, the risk of market fragmentation, of undermining or potentially destroying developer confidence in flow, and then have to watch that investment go elsewhere in the world.
John Cooper.
Question number 3, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. Well, with your permission, I will answer question 3 and question 8 together. I've spoken to farming unions in Wales and understand their strength of feeling. These changes are expected to affect around 500 claims across the whole of the UK, with very few being in Wales. Meanwhile, most importantly, we and the Welsh Government have protected the farming budget at its current level, whilst the Welsh Conservatives tried to block that money from reaching farmers by voting against the Welsh Government budget last week.
Mr Speaker, the Scotland Office is conducting a series of agricultural roundtables talking directly to farmers and putting together statistics to push back against this orthodoxy that only a tiny number of very wealthy estates are going to be affected. That's simply not the case. This increasingly looks like a war on farmers by the Treasury. What part are you playing in fighting back against this?
Well, Mr Speaker, the Treasury is absolutely confident in its figures, and specific questions on methodology is a matter for the Treasury. But what I can tell him, and I will repeat it, is expected to only affect 500 claims for agricultural property relief across the whole of the UK, with very few being in Wales. As he knows, we are absolutely committed to our farmers through keeping the £337 million block grant, which Welsh Government has passed on to farmers directly.
Charlie Dewhurst.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Farmers across the UK have already been rocked by the changes to APR and BPR. And yesterday we had the shock news in England that DEFRA will take no new applications for SFI. So what reassurances can the Minister give to farmers in Wales that the Sustainable Farming Scheme will be delivered in full and on time on the 1st of January next year?
Well, as he knows, my good friend, the First Minister of Wales, has spent a lot of time talking to farmers, and we have absolutely protected the budget, and Welsh Government has also protected that budget for farmers, so the full £337 million will be going directly to farmers, in spite of his colleagues in the Sunday trying to block it last week.
Select Committee, Ruth Jones. No.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Welsh Affairs Select Committee is launching its inquiry into farming in Wales this week because we know farming is a cornerstone of the Wales economy. Now, the Welsh Government budget contained over £300 million to support Welsh farmers. So does the Minister agree with me that it's a shame the opposition parties are playing fast and loose with farmers' livelihoods by voting against the Welsh Government budget last week?
Well, indeed, Mr Speaker, my honourable friend, the Chair of the Welsh Affairs Committee, is absolutely right. It was an utter disgrace that the parties opposite decided to vote against the budget last week, which effectively is trying to block money going to the farmers. What a disgrace.
Shall the Secretary State Mimsdale?
This government have said that they are concerned, like we all are, about our future security. So why is food security expendable in Wales and beyond? That's the message from farmer Stella Owen from NFU Cymru, who termed their actions as destructive and threatens the future of family farms across Wales. Mr Speaker, how many of those family farms is the Minister prepared to see go under before she and the Secretary of State will step up and act in the interests of this key sector to help worried and frankly livid men and women who are worried and fearing for their livelihoods?
Well, Mr Speaker, as I'm sure she has been reminded many times, difficult decisions had to be made to fund our public services, but the changes still leave a significant amount of relief in place. Farming parents will typically be able to pass on up to £3 million to their children without paying any inheritance tax at all, and above this amount, inheritance tax will be paid at a reduced effective rate of up to 20% rather than the standard 40%. Estates have up to 10 years to pay any tax due, and this will be interest-free. These payment terms are not available to others. This is a fair and balanced approach that continues support for family farms, whilst also fixing the public services that we rely on, including farmers.
Jones.
Question number 4, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
I have regular discussions with my Welsh Government colleagues about health, and I'm pleased to see clear progress in cancer services in Wales. In December, performance against the 62 day cancer target was the best we've seen since August 2021. But no one should ever be complacent about cancer. And that is why our two governments are absolutely committed to working closely on cancer, to share best practice and to deliver better outcomes for patients across England and Wales.
Clive Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since August 2020, not a single health board in Wales has